You're listening to Pro Talk Wrestling with NateFNGreat. What is up, you guys? This is NateFNGreat from the Game Changer Podcast. You're listening to another edition of Pro Talk Wrestling, where I go throughout the week and talk about professional wrestling and the goods, the bads, the mess, and the interesting. So, this week, of course, was the final build-up all the way to this Sunday's Money in the Bank event presented by WWE, by the WWE Network, and I'm sure by other sponsors that really nobody seems to really care about. Let's face it, I remember when they did the whole, almost seems like 7 events where they did Rocket League, and I could not care less. But, you know, some of the stuff that they provided, like Snickers, is always fun. Anyway, so I'm actually going to do a little bit of a different format for this because there's actually a lot to go through, including talking about Raw, SmackDown, NXT, as well as the news that came out for AEW, and continuing the list of favorites from yours truly. So guys, let's get right into it. Let's talk about Raw and SmackDown. I'm actually going to combine these two because these are the two build-ups for Money in the Bank on Sunday, and there's been a lot of interesting development that came over these two shows. First of all, I want to say, UK crowd, you guys did an excellent job of representing wrestling fans. You always have the right energy. You always go for the right chants. You definitely stay focused on the show. So everybody in the UK, thank you so much. You definitely have my appreciation as well as my support. Now, that being said, were these two shows the best build-ups for Money in the Bank? No, kind of. I mean, they still had some situations where I guess it made some sense, and then there's some things were just really stupid. I mean, anything with the Usos and the Revival right now is just flat out smash my face, shake my head, unbearable. But I will say that it did feel like for the matches themselves, they actually had some pretty good build. We had the contract signings for the Raw and SmackDown Women's Championships as Lacey Evans and Charlotte were in the ring with Becky Lynch. They talked about what goes on Sunday, where she's going to be going from Becky 2 belts to Becky no belts, and I will get into my predictions on Money in the Bank just a bit. But honestly, it was a really great contract signing. I love the Lacey Evans character where she's basically stating that everybody needs to be proper. Her and Charlotte kind of hit it off pretty well. We could see them as a formidable tag team in the future. I could see that, and I would be totally for it because they kind of hold themselves up really good, especially on appearance, especially on being the best in their minds. So this could really be something great. It actually ended with a Shield-like powerbomb on Becky Lynch through the table, with Lacey and Charlotte holding both championships over their heads over Becky Lynch. This is honestly some pretty interesting developments. I know a lot of people are not really fond of the fact that Lacey Evans is getting the first shot at the Raw Women's title because there were so many other people that probably deserve it more than Lacey Evans. It's something different. It's someone different. Would you rather go back to the status quo, which was, Becky and Charlotte again? Like I said, after this Sunday, regardless of who wins, I am hoping that we see Charlotte and Becky for the last time for quite a while, because it just gets to be a little bit too much. It's almost like with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. They build it up for this last hurrah at Battleground, and it was a great way to send it off. But unfortunately, about a few months later, they just decide, you know what, we're doing this again. So, that happened. And trust me, I'm going to talk about Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn quite a bit during this show, because they're kind of back on the same page. Actually, let's transition into that, because it does kind of transition into two different things. The first being that the men's Money in the Bank ladder match actually had a change, a bit of a substitution, when Mr. Sami Zayn decided to take on Mr. Braun Strowman for Braun's Money in the Bank spot, and it was a pretty good Falls Count Anywhere matchup. We saw a lot of action. We saw Baron Corbin and Drew McIntyre. They got involved, and they cost Braun Strowman the matchup. Sami Zayn takes Braun Strowman's spot. This was one of those moments that kind of shocked me, but also it was cool because we actually get somebody different in the Money in the Bank ladder match. We get somebody who fans have definitely been for, and it's kind of pro-heel for the Money in the Bank ladder match now I look at it, because the only baby faces on there are Ricochet, Finn Balor, and Ali. Those are the only three. Everybody else is a heel, which, to be honest, I like it. I like the fact that it is more heel than face. It probably means that we're going to get a heel winning a matchup, but if we have anybody by the name of Finn Balor, Ali, or Ricochet winning the Money in the Bank match, that'd be great, but I will get into that in just a bit. But like I said, it goes into tying in the whole thing with Kevin Owens as well. Kevin Owens talking smack on Kofi Kingston. Kofi Kingston is just ready to fight. I love the build-up to this, because ever since the whole heel turn happened, Kevin Owens has definitely been stating the fact that he wants to be the WWE Champion. That's something that we've never really seen in quite a while, where they've said, hey, I want to fight because I want to be the champion. It's kind of been just one of those situations where it's like, well, I want to fight just because I want to fight, or I want to fight because other reasons. This is one of those feelings where it does feel like a big match feel. Kevin Owens versus Kofi Kingston is going to be a great matchup. I can definitely tell that. Oh my gosh, I am just absolutely in love with this matchup. We saw Kofi Kingston invade the Kevin Owens show. He basically took over. And then we saw Kevin Owens and Kofi brawl. Sami Zayn came out. Xavier Woods came out to kind of even the odds. But in the end, it was Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens getting the victory. And one of the things that I enjoyed was indeed the verbal beatdown that Kevin Owens gave. He basically just said, you need to listen to me real close, because I am taking your title this Sunday at Money in the Bank. He just berating Kofi. He's basically saying, hey, I'm taking what you love. I'm taking what you took 11 years to get. I am taking your title. But in the end, Kofi Kingston got the last word, knocking Kevin Owens out of the ring, hitting a Trouble Paradise on Sami. Again, really good feud. I really love it. It's just absolutely wonderful. Another development that happened this week is that originally we had Alexa Bliss advertised for the Fatal 4-Way matchup that was supposed to take place. It was supposed to be her, Ember Moon, Dana Brooke, and Natalya. But here's where it gets to be interesting. When we got to Raw, we see Nikki Cross. Not crazy Nikki Cross, but kind of a very somber, less, I wouldn't say enthusiastic. I would say definitely a toned down Nikki Cross. She came in, she basically is talking to Alexa Bliss. Alexa's just saying, oh, well, unfortunately I wasn't able to get my, I can't get my stuff, I can't get my, I couldn't compete because I don't have my gear and blah, blah, blah. So I want to also correct myself. It wasn't Ember Moon, it was Naomi, my apologies. We see her basically just playing this deal where she's like the victim of this, and she's trying so hard to basically put on this, I guess, Academy Award-winning performance where she's like, oh, what will I do? And basically Nikki says, well, I mean, if there's anything I could do to help out. And Alexa's like, oh, thank you so much for taking my spot. And Nikki's kind of like, wait, what? And she goes to talk to Regal, and that's where we kind of get that situation where Nikki Cross sees what's going on, and she kind of gets that smirk on her face. And when we see that smile, literally we're like, oh, we're getting crazy Nikki for this matchup. And that is exactly what we got. Nikki Cross took Alexa Bliss's spot in the 4-way matchup, pinning Natalya with that suplex neckbreaker. In the end, though, we also saw Alexa Bliss climbing the ladder and retrieving the briefcase, basically stating, hey, I'm going to be your 2-time Miss Money in the Bank. The Goddess in the Bank is actually what she called it. But unfortunately, some new developments came with this, where Alexa Bliss unfortunately is injured and she would not be able to compete at the Money in the Bank match this Sunday. Her replacement, you guessed it, Nikki Cross. So now we have a matchup where it's a who's who, really, of 2 different ladder matches in which anybody could win, and there's a pretty substantial amount of people that would be pissed, but there's still a pretty substantial amount of people that will be happy with no matter what the result was. I know that there's certain people that would love to see Mandy walk around with the championship. Oh, I'm sorry. They'd love to see Mandy walk around with that briefcase. They would love to see, now Nikki Cross. They would be okay with Natalya. There's some people that would love to see Dana Brooke win that briefcase. Same thing with the men's. There's a lot of people that they would love to see. Even Baron Corbin. There's a lot of people that have been getting on the Baron Corbin wagon. And I will also say this. He actually ditched his TGI Friday vest during a house show this week to kind of wear a different kind of attire where I think he had brown pants and a wrestling t-shirt. He definitely had a different attire than what he normally had. But I'm not going to count out the fact that he could bring back the vest come Money in the Bank. A lot of really good developments during these 2 shows, you guys. Like I said, the UK shows were great. We also had a Fatal 4-Way matchup between the SmackDown competitors where it was Ali versus Andrade versus Balor versus Orton. Really good matchup between these 4 individuals. Andrade picked up the victory after basically just derailing Finn Balor, hitting the Hammerlock DDT for the victory. I was very surprised by that. I honestly thought maybe Orton or Mustafa might get that win. I know, it's Ali, but at the same time, I said this in posts before, I'll say it again, I call it Mustafa Ali just like I call Andrade Cien Almas, because I loved their names. They were great. Why they decided to shorten them down, I don't know. Why they decided to call the War Raiders the Viking Raiders is beyond me, but it is what it is. It's whatever, I guess, at this point. And let's actually talk about the Viking Raiders, because that's going to be going into the NXT portion of the show that I am really trying to push, especially if I'm going to be a part of a new group of wrestling podcasters. Definitely need to bring out my own stuff. And obviously, with Who Got Next basically closing their doors, somebody needs to kind of pick up that pace as well as pick up that momentum. And I think I could probably be a good candidate for that. So let me tell you about NXT, you guys. Really good show. Loved it. We kicked off with the Viking Raiders, where they talk about how they come to Monday Night Raw, that they are basically dominating everything, but unfortunately, with them beating everybody, that they are going to relinquish the tag team titles. The Street Profits, on the other hand, they want a shot at those NXT titles. They also want to prove that they can beat the Viking Raiders. And one of the lines in here that was so good was that they basically said, we can beat the Viking Raiders if that is your real name, which got a really good reaction from the NXT crowd. The Viking Raiders grabbed the belts, and they said, make the match. Regal said, all right, then it's official. It's going to be the Viking Raiders versus the Street Profits for the NXT Tag Team titles here tonight. Gotta love it. Gotta absolutely love it. They also did a recap of the issues going on with Undisputed Era, mainly the one that happened previous week where Adam Cole lost his match to Matt Riddle, and it was seemingly Roderick Strong's fault. There was a deal where, Roderick Strong, he took off his shirt, he threw the armband at Adam Cole, and Adam Cole and the rest of Undisputed Era, they're basically talking to one of the backstage interviewers, talking about how, everything that was going on, they don't care what happened to Roderick Strong. And in the background, we just hear all of these crazy, these people just running and running. People are just like, oh, what's going on? Here comes Roderick Strong, dressed up in, I guess, his old attire or something like that. Basically, he said, you know what? You're right. Undisputed Era needs to be on the same page. And he proves that by presenting Adam Cole with a bloody flip-flop of Matt Riddle. And it's literally one of those situations where it's like, oh, you did this for me? Oh, cool, we're on the same page again. I'm predicting that Roderick Strong is probably going to break away from the Undisputed Era in the near future. I'm not for it. I would honestly love to see this kind of be one of those situations where the Undisputed Era just fake that they have issues and then just swerve everybody by saying, oh, we're fine, we don't have these issues, we played you. That would be one of the best things to do. And just have that moment where all of the Undisputed Era has all the gold at the end of, NXT TakeOver 25 coming up in a couple of weeks, which we have a couple matches that are indeed, set for that event, which we'll get into in just a bit. One of the things that I just absolutely love about Undisputed Era is that they can take anything and make gold out of it. So it seems like right now they are in a good position. They seem to be in a good spot. So things seem to be like hunky-dory, peachy keen. We'll see how well that goes in the future. We have our first matchup, which was Cesar Bonani versus Keith Lee. And I will say this was a very entertaining matchup. I also love how they have that chant for Keith Lee. They talk about everything that he did, including pulling a truck. I think it was like 40 feet in a matter of like 12 seconds, if I'm not mistaken. Just basically, he seems like a new Mark Henry. And he could probably induct so many people into his own version of the Hall of Pain. Keith Lee, looking forward to seeing what you do, buddy. And it was a pretty good matchup. It finished with Keith Lee hitting Cesar with the Last Ride Bomb, the Kota Ibushi Bomb, I'm trying to remember what exactly, I guess the Bask in the Glory Bomb, I guess you could call it, but the chant of the NXT crowd just going, oh, bask in the glory, just, it's amazing just seeing that and hearing that. Just love, I missed these NXT crowds so much. I'm going to be going back to hopefully tweeting about NXT's events again. I will indeed be doing live tweets for the NXT TakeOver 25 show coming up in just a couple weeks. Definitely going to be a can't miss show for sure. So we go backstage and basically Kathy Kelly talks about the tag team title shot. The Forgotten Sons, they get involved and they're basically saying, hey, we're going to go talk to Regal because we deserve a title shot. Well, I mean, I kind of forgot these guys were a thing, so maybe somebody forgot their title shot. Who knows at this point? Next matchup we have on here is Kona Reeves taking on Kushida in what was a really good technical style matchup. Very fast-paced. I loved the chemistry between these two guys. I think they could put on a great NXT TakeOver matchup in the future. Who knows? During this matchup, though, Drew Gulak from 205 Live looked on. And to be honest, it kind of shocked me. I was like, oh, Drew Gulak, what's he doing out here? And maybe he's part of the NXT roster. Who knows at this point? Kushida picked up the victory after hitting locking in a modified Kimura lock, forcing Kona to tap out. And Drew Gulak just looks on, not impressed. He's just thinking, oh, okay, I mean, that was cool and everything, but, it's nothing like what I could do. So it looks like we'll probably get a feud between Kushida and Drew Gulak in the future. Honestly, I hope that it's going to be a TakeOver matchup because I think that'd be a great matchup. You have the guy who's dressed up like Marty from Back to the Future and the guy who has probably the most entertaining PowerPoint that you will ever see. Drew Gulak can do so much. I love his character. I love what he does. I really am hoping that we get to see more of him on NXT, as well as just creating some great matches. Like I said, him and Kushida, that just tells me, ooh, I want that. I want that so badly. So we have Bianca Belair trying to get, I believe, Kathy Kelly to the backstage. She wants to talk to Regal about the NXT title matchup, that NXT women's title match that was made, which was Shayna Baszler versus Io Shirai, and they show a video footage of Io Shirai and Shayna at the Performance Center, but unfortunately the Horsewomen basically beat down on Io Shirai to kind of seem like it's going to be an unwinnable situation going into NXT TakeOver 25, but you never know. Maybe Io Shirai will have backup in the form of what was the name of the damn thing here? The Bombay Warriors or something like that. I don't know. It was a forgettable name, but Kairi Sane, Asuka. I had names for them already put out, like the Empresses of the Sea or the flying, the Flyers of Tomorrow, something like that, you know. Just something a little more original and creative. It just didn't settle well with me. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But Shayna Baszler goes to Regal's office, but she runs into Mia Yim. And Mia Yim says that she wants a rematch with Bianca Belair for next week. So I guess we got that set for next week. And I'm looking forward to that. I like Mia Yim's work. I really kind of want to see what they do. I want to see Mia Yim become NXT Women's Champion. I'm not going to lie. It's something I really want to see. We had Johnny Gargano tending to Matt Riddle, who was with one of the trainers. And I will say this, that for a guy who had a bloody, slipper, he didn't seem very bloody at all. It just seemed like maybe he got, maybe he was up with his nose or something. I don't know. It was really weird. But yeah, he's getting taped up. He's getting ice on him. Johnny Gargano says that Riddle's going to be fine, but you do not want to see what the Bro's going to have in mind for the era later. And he also announces that at NXT TakeOver 25, it's going to be Adam Cole versus Johnny Gargano for the NXT title one more time. Oh, we're getting the rematch at this match. Oh, why can't this be an Iron Man match? I want this to be an Iron Man match so badly. 1 hour of these guys just tearing it down. I really want that to be a thing. Is it going to happen? Who knows? Who knows? So much. I'm looking forward to this. I was there for NXT TakeOver New York. I'm looking forward to NXT TakeOver 25. It's going to be awesome. I'm excited. I'm a fan. I'm excited. So Vanessa Bourne took on Jessie, and Aaliyah was in Vanessa Bourne's corner. I will say this about Jessie. Her Titantron had what kind of seemed like a Jessie from Toy Story kind of feel to it, because it had the star, like they had with the sheriff badges. It just kind of had that feel. But then when she comes out, she looked like Stacy Keibler in a way. She had the skip like AJ, and her attire was very much reminiscent of Dakota Kai, who I believe is still out with an injury right now. It was one of those things where it was very bizarre to see that, but I kind of dug it. It was like, okay, this is kind of cool. But unfortunately, the numbers were too much. Vanessa Bourne hit a running neck breaker on Jessie for the win. Yeah, I'm very looking forward. It's really amazing seeing how we get to see different women every single week, and they kind of still slowly build each other up. I'm just looking forward to seeing what they do with Vanessa and Aaliyah. Maybe they'll be challengers for the women's tag team titles in the future. You never know. All right, so we go on to the main event, which is the NXT tag team titles. The Viking Raiders defending against the Street Profits. I really dug what they were doing at the first bit of it. Street Profits were just basically getting their asses handed to them at the beginning. But then they were able to, fight back. It was kind of a deal where it's like, okay, now we're seeing the Viking Raiders kind of taking it to them. We had a cartwheel off between these guys, which was amazing. I literally was like, wow, two guys just doing cartwheels in the ring. Only in NXT could it ever be entertaining. Unfortunately, chaos would soon ensue, in which we see the Forgotten Sons. They came out. They were beaten up. I think it was Eric, one of the Viking Raiders, and they beat him down. We see Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch come out. They try to even the odds, sort of, kind of, I guess. We see a lot of high flying deals. We see the Street Profits actually hit their finisher, electric chair blockbuster tag team finisher. And they made a count for themselves, like a very fast count, basically saying, oh yeah, we pinned the Viking Raiders, we did good. And the Viking Raiders kind of took it as a loss, where they're just like, okay, you want to do that? Well, we can do this. They basically beat the living hell out of Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch, sending a message to them. From what I last saw, it does seem like the NXT tag team titles are indeed vacant for the time being. So this is going to be interesting to see what they do for these titles. Maybe they'll put it in a matchup at NXT TakeOver 25, which I think is going to be the plan. I could see them do it as a triple threat or as a four-way, with including a new team you just never know. Yeah, but that was NXT. It was really a fun show. It kind of took a lot of the anger from WWE's Raw and SmackDown and kind of gave it a little more of a fun flavor to it. A lot of great stuff. Definitely check it out, you guys. It's great. So, before we go into a commercial break, I definitely do want to talk about the fact that they announced this past week, AEW has announced the fact that they have found their home for a TV deal. They have found a good network to work on, and they are going to be releasing their TV show in the fall on TNT. So this is kind of cool, and a lot of people have been saying, oh, this is going to create a lot of competition for WWE. I am not convinced about that yet. They're still kind of getting their bearings. They're still trying to get, their feet in the water. It's still not quite to the point where I see them as competition, because for a while we thought TNA was competition, and they got, burned into the ground. They're barely surviving. They're just badly burnt, but they are surviving nonetheless. I don't want AEW to fall under that same deal. So definitely build up your program on a different day than WWE. Don't worry about competing against them. Worry about creating your own brand. Worry about being your own wrestling company. Then, after maybe a year or two, depending on your numbers, start then bringing in the ideas of, hey, let's compete against WWE and let's beat them. I don't think it's going to happen, but I just don't want to see them get, crash and burn so quickly. I will also say that this is kind of interesting, is that there's been a lot of numerous reports that Triple H is furious with Vince McMahon behind the scenes, and honestly, who could blame him? There's reports about, Triple H basically having his NXT stars, stay with him, almost like, a mother bird holding on to her young, kind of something like that. He's just kind of like, no, stay over here, stay away from Papa Vince. So, I can definitely see the reports being true. There have been a lot of situations where Triple H has liked things where they talk about how Vince has gone mad or he's really got out of touch. Some things that even kind of bash some parts of WWE. So there's no way that Triple H is just randomly liking these things just for the sake of publicity. There has to be some truth to it. That is my opinion. Alright, so with that being said, going to go into a quick little commercial break. When we come back, I'll be talking about the favorites list. I will also be covering Money in the Bank's card, giving my predictions. And guys, it's going to be a lot of fun this next half hour. So guys, be right back. Hey guys, this is NateFNGreat. Hey, have you ever wanted to be a champion but can't seem to really find the money and the time to get a championship belt? Well, you know who's a really good friend of mine? AJ from AJsBelts.com. These guys have a large assortment of championship belts, from classic belts to the modern day belts to championship belts you would not even believe. And guys, like I said, they work with you very well. With an awesome layaway program, there is no way that you can beat these guys' prices as well as these guys' deals, especially when you can give them a little bit of money every now and then until you can get that championship gold. Coming from a guy who's a champion and a game changer, I'm indeed NateFNGreat. I'm representing AJsBelts.com, proud friends of the Game Changer Podcast.
Check out the guys over at Eclectic Media Project. They bring you podcasts such as Musically Challenged. Whose podcast is it anyway? Want to hear something interesting? And their newest podcast, Page 3.14 News. Check them out on Podbean and iTunes at Eclectic Media Project, on their website at www.eclecticmediaproject.com. Check them out as they are the home with a little something for almost everyone.
You're listening to the Game Changer Podcast here on Spreaker.com. Now, of course, guys, Spreaker.com has been our great supporters for so many years. Obviously, we also have to mention iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, SoundCloud, and, of course, Google Podcasts. So, with that being said, thank you guys so much for listening in. I am NateFNGreat. Welcome to another edition of Pro Talk Wrestling. Again, it's time to talk about some of the favorites for this week. Last week, I talked about some of the women. I talked about, a great woman. Talked about a great man. I've also talked about the matchup between Shawn Michaels and Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 21. So, who is on the list for this week? Well, let's start off with favorite tag team for this week. A team that definitely has been vastly underrated and just treated so poorly, but still one of the favorite teams that I have enjoyed watching for so long, that being the Revival. Ever since I saw these guys, they just have been creating great matches after great match after great match, and they continue to really be a great, I don't know. I don't want to say like a gimmick, but they definitely have that classic feel, like when they had the Andersons, the classic tag teams where they were more about just looking tough and being tough in the ring. It just is really cool to see those guys. Some of their great matches include them against American Alpha, them against the there's been a couple of matches that they had against. There are a lot more matches that they have. Oh, the Vaudevillains. Yeah, I loved their matches with the Vaudevillains. I thought they were really good. When they were actually in my favorites, Enzo and Cass. I love any team deal that they had. I thought their feud with Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins was great as well. The fact that they won the tag team titles so late in the game is just absolutely mind-boggling. But these guys are definitely going to be future Hall of Famers, in my opinion. And I just really don't want to see them go. I could see them leaving WWE. I know there's all these rumors about them letting down and saying, hey, we don't want these contracts. But, it goes back to the saying of, you have to love your job and you have to love what you do. They just don't seem to really love working for WWE, and I really hate to see that. They don't deserve to be mistreated like they have been. So let's just hope that they can find greener pastures on their way to another wrestling company, whether it is Impact Wrestling or AEW. I do not see them re-signing. I definitely see them going out and putting on really good matches in a different company. Alright, so we go into the women section of the favorites list, and I went into somebody that I recently just met who is really cool, and I actually got the chance to sit next to her at the All-In party that they had going, and that was Victoria. Victoria has definitely been one of those women who has been a game changer in women's wrestling. When you think about women who have definitely been shaping the mold and changing the landscape of what women's wrestling was all about, Victoria definitely hits that spot. When she came on, she definitely was an extra for, I think she worked with The Godfather for a couple of shows, but then she went on to wrestle, and when she got that, crazy character that she had, and she had that feud with Trish Stratus, that was just great, and her matches with Trish were really fun to have. Then you see her matches with Mickie James in Impact Wrestling, along with a lot of other women. She really excels as the just absolutely crazy, but also crazy athletic women in wrestling. She also is a genuine sweetheart. She is somebody who can just really show you how much she appreciates the support that you give her. Victoria is indeed one of the all-time greats of women's professional wrestling, and there is nobody who is going to be like her. Alright, then we go on to the men's. We have Pentagon. So for Pentagon, you can call Pentagon Jr., Pentagon Dark, Penta El Cerro Negro. No matter what you call him, he is one of those guys who definitely has created a legacy for himself as one of the toughest men, as well as one of the most brutal men in professional wrestling. When you look at this guy, he is just absolutely intimidating. And then when you see him wrestle, it scares you that much more. I remember watching him in Lucha Underground go from that metamorphosis, Pentagon Jr. to Pentagon Dark, and he became this just dastardly guy who just lived on just destroying people's bodies, destroying careers. He just became one of the best. The recent Lucha Underground, I'm trying to think of Lucha Underground season, I should say, he definitely was one of the guys who had to carry that company as their champion. And he did a damn good job. He had some great matches with, his match with Cage was just absolutely was great. They had that, last man, last machine standing matchup. He had a great feud with Marty the Moth. It's just absolutely incredible seeing him evolve into the megastar that he is right now, and he is definitely going to be a future Hall of Famer. Maybe not for WWE, but in professional wrestling, he is definitely going to be one of those guys who has made a difference and has changed the game here in wrestling. Alright, so now we go into the match of the, I guess Mass Showcase, what we could call it. It happened in 2006, and it was actually the very first big event of the year. Now, some people might say, well, what about New Year's Revolution? No, because a Royal Rumble is definitely where it should be. There should not be an event before Royal Rumble. So, the Royal Rumble match in 2006 is my favorite match of 2006, of that entire year. And the reason why is because of the storytelling, as well as so many of the great moments that took place in that matchup. You had the return of legends like Road Warrior Animal, as well as Tatanka. You had the return of Eugene, who is still one of my favorite characters to be in a WWE ring. He's just very fun and entertaining. You saw the feud continuation between Booker T and Chris Benoit. We saw Kane and Big Show try to dominate, but then they got eliminated early on, which was a bit of a shock. I was not expecting them to just be like, hey, we're going to have Big Show and Kane get in the matchup, but they're going to be eliminated like 2 minutes after. Actually, it was probably more than that, but it was very fast how they just kind of how they got eliminated. I was very shocked by that. I was like, oh, well now we don't have to worry too much about these two big guys, getting, throwing people left and right, which they did in the 2015 Royal Rumble, whichever one it was. But nobody likes to talk about that Royal Rumble that much. But yeah, the main story that was being put here was the fact that Rey Mysterio was going in here and he was dedicating his performance to Eddie Guerrero. And you would think that his performance would have been enough to suffice the fact that he showed how much dedication he had for this. He lasted for over an hour. I think it was maybe like an hour and 2 minutes, which was the longest run for quite a while until I believe Finn Balor broke it, if I'm not mistaken. I think it might have been last year or the year before, or this year, that Finn Balor broke Rey Mysterio's record of longest Royal Rumble performance. But the thing was that Finn Balor didn't win. Rey Mysterio, he did win. He was in the Final Four with Triple H, Randy Orton, and Rob Van Dam. Now, right off the bat, we think, well, Rob Van Dam and Rey Mysterio, they're going to be like the final two, and it's going to be probably a really cool moment to see that. No, Rob Van Dam was the first one gone out of these guys, and we see this, two heels versus face deal. Rey Mysterio is able to eliminate Triple H. Triple H is like, no, I'm not going to let this happen. He grabs Rey Mysterio, beats him down, and Randy's thinking, oh, I got an easy victory here. Picks up Rey Mysterio. He looks like he's going to do like a power slam to him on the outside. Rey Mysterio is able to fight off, gets him into a Hurricanrana head scissors, throws Randy Orton out of the ring, and wins the Royal Rumble. And the reaction that everybody had for this, it was just great. And honestly, as much as the last match was cool, as well as, just like the post-match deal was great, I'm not going to lie. I really think that this should have been the main event. This Royal Rumble matchup, for Rey Mysterio to have that moment, that should have been the last one. Nothing should have came on after that. This was one of the best moments of Rey Mysterio's career, and it did create a different, side that WWE was taking on. We saw Rey Mysterio have the feud with Randy Orton, where he lost it No Way Out, but Teddy Long said, how he won was wrong. We're going to make it a triple threat match at WrestleMania. And of course, guys, we know that ended up with WrestleMania having Rey Mysterio win the World Heavyweight Championship in Chicago, Illinois, which was a great moment. I just wish that they did more with Rey Mysterio after that. I really, really wish that they did. But I will say this, you guys, when this moment happened at the Royal Rumble, it definitely paved the way for so many people. And there's so many people that can look at Rey Mysterio and say he's the reason why I got into wrestling. He is the true underdog of professional wrestling. And he was. Nobody expected him to win the Royal Rumble. And when he went out and he won it, it was great. It was just a wonderful moment. Gosh, it just still gets me a little bit emotional, because that was just a really great moment, seeing that. And as a wrestling fan, it really hits hard. It's just really well done. Alright, so let's get into Money in the Bank. Yeah, bring you a day with the Money in the Bank. Yeah, sorry, somebody said that should have been the theme song for Money in the Bank this year, and I thought I'd try and recreate that, but I did it horribly. Anyway, so we have quite a bit of a card to go through, and this is actually going to be based on my card. So what that means is that there's going to be certain, stipulations, certain point systems for this. So let's not waste any time. Let's just get right into it. Let's start by the pre-show matches. Hey! We have Rowan and Daniel Bryan taking on the Usos. There has been conflicting rumors that this is for the tag team titles. There's been other conflicting rumors that this is not for the tag team titles. It's really weird. Either way, I see Erick Rowan and Daniel Bryan picking up the victory here. There's no way that they're going to have the Usos win here. If it's still a title, if it's a title matchup, then yeah, they're going to have Erick and Bryan win. But if it's a non-title matchup, then I could see the Usos picking up the victory here. The other matchup here is, what a shock, the Cruiserweight title matchup, in which we have Tony Nese versus Ariya Daivari. And for this matchup, Tony Nese is picking up the victory. I do not see them ending Tony Nese's run here and now. I definitely see Tony Nese holding that belt for quite a while until they get a different competitor. Honestly, I could see them dropping the belt to Mike Kanellis, and he would be the next big heel to dethrone. I could see that, and I would be all for that. But we'll wait and see. Alright, let's get into the main card. The United States Championship matchup, Samoa Joe versus Rey Mysterio. Let's face it, no way Samoa Joe is losing that belt. I think that they're going to continue finding ways to continue the story, but right now, I just do not see Samoa Joe losing. We have Roman Reigns versus Elias here. It's Roman. Roman Reigns, the man with the wettest hair. There's no way that they're just going to say, hey, let's have Elias win. It doesn't say to me Elias victory. I'd be okay with an Elias victory, but I just do not see that happening here. We have the steel cage matchup between Shane McMahon and The Miz. Of course, you can win by pinfall, submission, or escaping the cage. I foresee Shane McMahon picking up the victory. They're going to find a way to continue this feud. There's no way that they're just going to be like, oh, hey, Miz is going to get this victory, and they're going to end this deal. No, they're going to find a way to continue this. I still would love to see Shane McMahon get a skull-crushing finale from the top of the cage through the ring. That's just me. Maybe I'm just a sadistic, twisted human being. And I do see Shane McMahon escaping. I don't see him getting a pinfall victory. Alright, so we have the Raw and SmackDown Women's Championship matches. We have Becky Lynch versus Lacey Evans, as well as her facing off against Charlotte. I'm taking a bold prediction here. I predict that Becky retains both times. I just think that it would be really weird to have her win both those championships and lose them both in the same night. And it's kind of less weird considering the idea of, having her lose one. I just think that they need to keep this role on her. Make her feel like she is the man. And for her to continue to have that legacy as the man, have her still holding on to these championships. I like the fact, and especially now that they're doing the whole wild card system, there's no reason to have 2 women's championships. Have those titles be fused together to one women's championship and have it float between the 2 brands. At this point, that's what I think is going to be best for business. We have the Universal Championship matchup, Seth Rollins versus AJ Styles. This is an obvious one. Seth Rollins is coming out victorious. As much as I would love to see AJ Styles hold that belt, I just do not see it happening here. Seth Rollins definitely deserves to continue to be the flagship bearer for this show, and he's definitely going to have, I think there's going to be like a few series of matches between AJ and Rollins. Maybe they'll have a huge blow-off match at WrestleMania. Who knows at this point? It'd be really cool. We go into the WWE title matchup in which we have Kofi Kingston defending against Kevin Owens. Now, there have been conflicting rumors and a lot of theories about Sami Zayn getting involved in this, costing Kevin Owens or costing Kofi Kingston, that allowing Kevin Owens to pick up the victory and the title. I do not see that happening here. They just put the belt on Kofi. He deserves a long run with the championship. He's earned that spot. He's had some really great WWE title matches, including one on Raw as well as one on SmackDown. Continue this run. Have him still be the flag bearer for SmackDown Live. I think Kofi Kingston retains here on the during the run here. So next up here we have the women's Money in the Bank ladder match in which we have Natalya, Dana Brooke, Naomi, Mandy Rose, Nikki Cross, Ember Moon, Carmella, and Bayley. So for this, we have to go from who we think is most likely going to win to least likely going to win. We're going to rank them all. So I'm going to go from least likely to win first. So first one up here, I will put down Bayley. I just do not see her picking up the victory here. I am kind of surprised that she's in this matchup, but I just don't see her winning. I just really don't. And it also just doesn't make that much sense to me. Carmella would be the next unlikely one. She's already won it. As cool as it would be to see her win and maybe have some kind of capitalization after the women's battle royal, I just do not see it happening here. Next up, I would have be Dana Brooke, another unlikely person. Really cool to see her get that victory, but I just do not see it happening here. Final one for unlikely would be Naomi. I just do not see that happening at all. She's good in the ring, but she doesn't deserve. She deserves it, but she just doesn't need it. That's what I'm trying to say. All right, so the 4 most likely here. We'll start with this will be like number 5 for me. So number 5, I will throw Natalya in there. I think she has a pretty good chance of doing it. I will put in Nikki Cross as my number 6. Then I will throw Mandy as number 7 would be, and Ember Moon will be the most likely to win this matchup. That is my opinion on this. So, see if I can remember going backwards here. We had Ember Moon most likely. Down would be Mandy, Nikki Cross, Natalya. Let's see, who was the one after that one? Naomi. Let's say Naomi, Dana Brooke, Carmella, Bayley. Okay. So, now we go into the men's Money in the Bank matchup. We have Sami Zayn, Mustafa Ali, Baron Corbin, Andrade Cien Almas, Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton, Ricochet, and Finn Balor. And yes, I know it's Andrade and Ali, but it's my show. I will call them how I want to. Alright, so least likely, Ricochet. I unfortunately just do not see him getting the belt put on him, the deal put on him. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Next up, I would throw in Randy Orton. He's kind of only a step above. No, I'm switching it around. I'm putting Randy Orton as the least likely. Ricochet's above that, because that's just insulting if I were to just do it that way. Number 3, I would throw Baron Corbin on that spot. I just don't I just don't like him. I really just do not like him holding that briefcase again. After that, Mustafa Ali. So those are like my 4 least likely. 4 most likely to win, starting off at the bottom of the barrel. I will throw in Finn Balor. Then I will go Drew McIntyre, Sami Zayn, and my pick to win it all is Andrade Cien Almas. Andrade is the guy who I do see as one of those guys who can definitely be groomed to be a successful competitor. He definitely deserves to be the guy who who wins it here. So, with that being said, now we go on to some tiebreaker points in the tag team matchup. Who pins who? I think that Daniel Bryan pins Jimmy Uso. That's just my opinion on that. We have the 2 briefcases. Do the women's or the men's briefcases get cashed in tonight? Both of them, I am saying no. I just do not see any reason for them to have both those briefcases cashed in. I know there's some people that just say, well, it creates for something interesting, gets those briefcases out of the way. Let them have a little bit of a longevity with them. Let them continue having those briefcases for a while. Let's not repeat history again. That's just my opinions on that. Then we go into a couple of deals here. What matchup starts up the show? Would be a good matchup to start the show. I'm gonna take a wild guess and say the women's. I'm gonna say the women's Money in the Bank starts the show. I think it would actually be a really good idea to have that start the show and to have them create that suspense of thinking that, well, now we know, is she going to are they going to cash it in during the matchup? I just think that would make the most sense in my opinion. Which matchup do I think is going to close the show? I'm taking a gamble on this one, but I really think that it should be the one that closes the show. Kevin Owens versus Kofi Kingston for the WWE Championship. That should close the show. That should be the closer for this event. So, with that is my predictions for the Money in the Bank ladder matches. So before we wrap up this Pro Talk Wrestling here on the Game Changer, you guys, I'm going to end it on a bit of a hard note. Because yesterday, wrestling had suffered a loss in the wrestling family. A lot of you have already heard, but Ashley Massaro passed away yesterday, age of 39. And there have been reports that have been confirming what I think a lot of people were scared to think was the cause of it. It looks like it's confirmed that that the cause of death was suicide. And it's really sad to see that, because there was a lot of really good things that were coming out of Ashley. I got the chance to meet her at WrestleCon about a month ago. She was one of the sweetest people I have ever met. I literally said to her that she was the first Playboy Playmate I ever met, and she still has that distinction to this day. There's nobody that's going to replace that. I even remember so many of her highlights throughout her career in WWE. I remember her winning the Diva Search deal. I even brought up the whole deal where she almost pulled a Samuel L. Jackson on Monday Night Raw, where she got the pie in the face and she almost just cursed on TV. Where she kind of did her tag teaming with Trish Stratus. There was even a point where I thought that she was going to win the women's championship on a Raw, actually, because they played it off so well, like she was going to win after Trish's match with Mickie James the night prior. She had her match at WrestleMania with Melina. There was that Divas talent competition that they had, where everybody was showing off their talents, whether it was like dancing or singing or something like that. And all she did was she came out to reveal her Playboy cover girl deal, and she revealed pasties on her on her breasts, which it's Playboy. It's, what do you expect at this point? She came back for a match at WrestleMania 24, I think it was. Yeah, because I think it was supposed to be Maria and Candice against Melina and Beth Phoenix, if I'm not mistaken. And they had Ashley going as a replacement because Candice Michelle, I think she had I think she re-aggravated an injury or something like that. So this is tough. This is one of those things where, as my friend Adam said, gone too soon, and she will be sorely missed. So on behalf of everybody at the Game Changer podcast family, we want to offer our thoughts, our prayers, and our condolences to the Massaro family as they go through this horrible time. And I will say this, that she is probably up there right now with so many greats like Eddie Guerrero, Randy Savage. She's getting a chance to talk to them, but this is still something very tough. And it's really hitting me right now how much of a sweetheart that she was. And she was absolutely a sweetheart. Her last social media deal she did was that she went through fan mail, and she was just talking about how much she appreciated everything. But this is also, again, something that I have been talking about for quite a while. And I say this, for those of you that do, in fact, have those thoughts of taking your life, don't give in to them. Talk to people. Ask for help. And for those that do see people struggling with thoughts of suicide, definitely offer to be help to them. Don't just watch. Make a difference. Make a difference in somebody's life. So, for that, guys, I've been NateFNGreat. Thank you so much for listening into this podcast. And this one's for you, Ashley. You will be missed. Thank you for everything that you did. We love you. And rest in peace.
You better hold on tight, 'cause I'm gonna love you nice. I'm gonna do it right. Let me light a fire in you tonight. My eyes have never seen someone who looks like you. I wonder if you dream of my hands loving you, because I know I do, every day and every night. And I know I'll lose control if I can't crush this appetite. This dream